I think it's time we talk about Siege Cascade. It's been about 1 month since PoE 2 launched, and the meta is now kind of settled, but I don't really see any Siege Cascade being utilized in a lot of builds, so I like to change that. This is a Chronomancer Siege Cascade build, and I think it has plenty of potential for the endgame. As you can see with the budget starter versions, I am able to have big AoE explosions and decent boss damage. I have not seen any Siege Cascade build before, and much less on Chronomancer, so I think this will be an interesting one. Now, I just want to quickly note that I'm well aware of the Vine Arrow and Siege Cascade interactions, which I'm not sure if it's intended, and if it survived the next patch by GGG, I'm going to revise this build and add it into this build mechanics. Alright, so let's start right here at our two main skill, which is Siege Cascade and Frost Wall. Now, Siege Cascade has two parts to it. The first one is the impact and an explosion part. And both of them are converted to fire damage, right? So, if it's just a single target damage, it will look like this. Obviously, this is not doable. So, we have Frost Wall to help with the single target damage, and it goes like this. As you can see, the sound, everything, it sounds super satisfying, right? So we can run around, cast Frost Wall, and shoots. This build have really good mobility. And, usually it's not a problem because Siege Cascade target every enemies within the 3.5 meter radius, and it has a bolt explosion radius. So if we scale this explosion radius up, right? And you will get like overlapping explosion. So you scale this little explosion area up, and basically, if you don't know PoE 1, right, overlapping explosion, overlapping shotgunning damage is one of the highest damage multiplier in the game. So what we can do is for single target damage, we'll do cast Frost Wall, and all these overlapping explosions going to hit the same targets. And so that's going to do a lot of damage. Now, I did play with Glacial Bolt before, but it's kind of clunky, swapping back and forth between the two bullet types, so I think Frost Wall is just superior options. Alright, let's talk about how are we able to achieve the explosion that you see in the beginning of the video. So, it's very important. This is the mandatory unique ring, which I think is Swedish. It's pronounced Posikern. Yeah, so I had to Google that. Anyway, so this ring said enemy chill by your hits can be shattered as frozen. And so remember that. This is very important. And we are using Blue Flame Bracer. Now this glove convert 100% of fire damage to cold damage, which means that now Siege Cascade will only do cold damage instead of fire damage. So what you see here, all these explosions, all the enemy target by this skill will be chill, because cold damage just naturally chill and build up freeze. So with that, we are using Herald Vice so that while active, right, shattering an enemy with an attack will cause icy explosions. So enemy chill from our Siege Cascade here, right, they will be shatters when they die, and activated Herald Vice, which also we are using innovates, causing turns, mining infusions, conductions, so basically make sure that it deals a bunch of blinding damage so that it can shock when it's explode. And then we'll trigger Herald Thunders, which read while active. Killing a shock enemies with attack damage will cause subsequent attack to release lightning bolt to attack, right? So Herald Vice is considered an attack. So then when it shatters, it'll attack, it shock enemy, and enemy die, and it will trigger Herald Thunders, which Herald Thunders, again, I'm using Biting Frost, Ice Bite, to make sure that it deals decent cold damage, which will chill enemies, and then will also, die and trigger the Herald Vice, and these two will chain off each other until there's no more close by enemy left. Right, so yeah, this is very powerful. It basically chain off each other, deal a lot of AU damage, And naturally, we are scaling AoE damage. So from the jewels, from passive points, from anointment, right? Naturally, we want Siege Cascade to scale with AoE because we want overlapping damage. So this goes really nice together with this build. Let's talk about our ascendancy and why did I pick Chronomancer. So a generic thing is that I just really like the aesthetic of this class. Wearing cloth armor, playing a crossbow skill seems really cool, right? I don't want to be a caster. I want to play some off-meta stuff. But yeah, aesthetically looking great. The real reason is that if you see here, Siege Cascade actually have a travel time. So one of the reason why the skills, usually a lot of people use the skills, they have to use it with the Ripwire Totem, Ripwire Ballista, which pin the enemy so that you don't miss with the skill because it has a travel time, go up, go down, then explode. Now, with the Ascendancy of Chronomancer, we have Apex of the Moment, which slow enemy around you by 20%, and that worked together with the Temporal Chains on Blasphemy support, which means from the, as you can see in the beginnings of the introductions, and I will also do a map showcase later, but basically it makes the skills don't miss because the mobs around you are just moving in slow motion, attacking in slow motions, and whenever you shoot this, you don't miss. And you can even combo that with the ice wall as well and freeze enemies and everything. Yeah, so that's very good. So you can see here that I'm also taking a lot of all the cluster that increase the effect of our curse. So just enemies just really slow. They can't really dodge this projectile. So yeah, if you don't play this class, you will have to take some projectile speed. You will have to use the Ripwire Ballista for the so that the enemies is pinned, right? So again, it's just very good, very comfy. Now, let's quickly talk about Temporal Rift, which is also a very good tool. As a defensive layer, just having Blasphemy and Apex of the Moment make everything around you slower, so you don't really get hit. But if you do get hits, you can see you leave an after image effect here. If you do get hits, this acts like a cooldown, so it resets your energy shields from before you get hit, so you get out of sticky situations. Now, another reason that's very strong for Chronomancer is that because of Time Freeze. Time Freeze act like your ultimate skills, and it has a long cooldown time of 57 seconds. It has a freeze duration of 3 seconds, but you are able to, first of all, reduce the cooldowns and raise this freeze duration up by using, so I'm using a second weapon set, so if I swap to my second weapon here, which is a shield, so this shield has a cooldown recovery rate, so it helps our time freeze to have a shorter cooldown, so it's from 57 seconds to just 37 seconds. Now, I'm also taking all these skill effect duration notes on the trees. Down here as well, cooldown recovery, skill effect duration, very strong, and on the jewel as well, I'm taking the skill effect duration on the jewel, right? So it basically make it so that our freeze goes from time freeze go from 3 seconds all the way to 12.68 seconds, and that's a long time. Like it allows you to time freeze, drop your banner, set up all these ice wall, use emergency reloads, and shoot the boss. That will do so much damage because there's also a second part to Siege Cascade that say you do 50% more damage against immobilized enemies, and normally you have to make the enemy freeze, pin, heavy stuns, or electric heals, but time freeze actually work as immobilized, and I've tested this, so you will do 90% more damage against immobilized enemies for the whole 12-13 seconds, and the boss will just going to melt really if you have the right damage. And right now starter gears, I just want to try it out. So the bow is nothing like special, just 300 of his DPS bow, crossbow, and yeah. So this is very strong. More damage multiplier is just a very strong multiplier in a separate bucket. So this by itself you are doing double damage from the impact and the overlapping explosions. So another thing that is very strong with the Chronomancer, let's just finish with the ascendancy here, is that I also plan to take now and again. And this is a very strong, so 33% chance to not consume cooldowns, and we have some very strong cooldowns. Emergency reload is one of the very strong cooldowns that we have. So we can press this and our Siege Cascade will get buff. And so for the next 2 shots, we get buff. And if this doesn't consume cooldown, that's like another more damage multiplier, because we have here 15% more damage multiplier and power. So this is a work as an empower attack. And so time freeze can also works with that. We can freeze a boss for 30 seconds. Just imagine like we freeze a boss for almost 30 seconds, right? And so we can do all those kind of damage to the boss. And another thing is that by being a Chronomancer, we have access to all these ES nodes, which allow us to go CI. And CI mech is so that we are immune to chaos damage, so it's easier to gears. We have easy access to ES nodes, so my gear is nothing special. I'm able to get up to 4.5k ES right now, and that's together with green feats, that's 9k ES doing mapping. So again, very strong ascendancy. It does make it so that we have to travel all the way down here. We can actually grab some pretty nice node over here coming Calamity, but we have to travel all the way down here to grab some of the crossbow node. But that's not a problem because of how defensively and offensively strong, and it makes this Siege Cascade feel very comfy during mappings. I just want to quickly add that I do have a written guide on mobilitics for this particular build. It is an early game version, so it's not a full build guide, but it will have all the informations that I have explained in this videos written in here for you. If you miss something and you don't want to rewatch the video, you can use this as reference. I will continue to update this in the upcoming days, and as I release new videos, I'll probably have a full version of this update for the end games. And yeah, so I have all the skill gems, passive trees, and all my items I also uploaded on here for you to use as reference. It's a very early game version, so the budget is also small. But yeah, I'll continue to update this as I explore more with the build and push this further into the endgame. Okay, so let's talk about our items. And let's start with the 2 mandatory unique items that we have, Blue Flame Bracer and the Posican Ring. So as I explained before, these 2 are important for the Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder chain. And yeah, so you just need to have them. The roll doesn't really matter too much. If you are able to get a high cold damage roll, that's pretty nice. So plus 15 strength is good because it helps a little bit with the attributes, which I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that's the 2 unique mandatory unique items. And next we'll have the crossbow. And traditionally, this Diat crossbow bait is really bad for a lot of builds because the clunky reload time of over 1 second. So 1.1 second of reload time. And yeah, so not a lot of builds use this. But for us, it's really good because it has implicit that's loads an additional bolt. And this is because of how it works. Siege Cascade will target the enemies, and you know, we are using Frost Wall for single target as enemy. And if you have 1 bolt here, if you shoot, all the ice wall gonna explode, and your next shot's not gonna hit anything, right? But if we load 2 bolts and we cast once ice wall, you can actually shoot twice. So effectively, if you load 2 bolts, you can double your damage with a single cast of Frost Wall. So that's very good. Now, also important is the physical damage, and it's pretty much everything you want from the crossbow. Is just make sure that it has this load additional bolt and on the added crossbow base and high physical damage. Now, actually, because this base is so bad that you can actually snipe some of the pretty good bolt for cheap as well. So yeah, physical damage wise, you want to have high physical damage as high as possible. Some elemental damage is okay, but it's not the best. This is because of, for example, Herald Thunder, it converts 100% of physical damage to lightning. So the fire damage here doesn't really do anything. Yeah, so just try to grab the best physical damage crossbow that you can. And don't really care about the suffix. So attack speed is good. Increased level approach is fine. Dexterity is fine. We're not pushing for crits. It's had a really low crit chance anyway, so we're not really using crits. We are using high physical damage overlapping explosions. Alright, so next let's quickly talk about the spirits and how am I able to sustain all this aura. We have War Banner, Double Heralds, Blasphemy support with Heightened Curse, Green Feast. So if I take off Heightened Curse here, so I have 24 spirits, so I put it back on, it's 2, so that's like 22 spirits, right? And I have roughly about 200 spirits, and in order to achieve 200 spirits, the easiest way, right, you want to get about 45 spirits on your body armor and 55 spirit on your amulet. Now I have this solar amulet base, which already have an implicit for spirit here. And so I can just get about 40 spirit from the amulets, and that together, these two would make up for about 100 spirits, and you get 100 from the campaign itself, so that will sustain all our aura. Now beside these spirits, we want to have all the ES years on our characters who have the highest ES value that you can get. This is still very budget. You can definitely push this ES number to be much higher than 4.5k. This is a very bare-bone budget version, so use it as reference. So I use all the body armor, helmets, and boots are socketed with the Iron Rune, which give 20% increased energy shields. And beside that, you just try to balance out all the resistance between your gears. So resistant on here, resistant on all the pieces like rings, amulet, belt. And you could get int on the gear as well, on your ES gear as well. It helps a little bit to let you run these blasphemy aura, which require, like, for example, 164 int, right? So it will help you with some of the requirements. On the attribute topic, you can get strength from your belt, you can get dex on your rings, you can get dex on your amulet as well to help with that. Dex is pretty good for our build, like I said before. Dexterity equal accuracy, and it helps us hit targets. Yeah, so yep. And next, let's talk about the jewels. So for the jewels, the most important stats that you want on your jewels would be increased area effect. And I plan to have this on all my jewels, and it will help with the, once again, overlapping damage, right? So you always want area damage on this build. It's very good. It is damage. And beside the area effect, some of the other equally good mods should be increased effect durations. It increased the time for our time freeze. We have increased effect of curse is good for blasphemy temporal chain to slow enemy even further. Increased cold damage is fine. It's increased elemental damage, right? Some of those modifier help your damage a little bit. Increase maximum energy shields. Again, it's for defensive purposes. And I don't run the Emerald Jewel. So on Emerald Jewels, you can get prosh speed, you can get reload speed, which is arguably pretty good for crossbow. But for me, because like I explained before, we are using Siege Cascade with Chronomancer, so enemies are already moving slow enough. So you're not going to miss these shots. So you don't need prosh speed, you don't need reload time to make it feel better. Next up, let's talk about the skill gems. And yeah, so Time Freeze, Temporal Rift is our Ascendancy skills. And Time Freeze, I put Persistent in here for a longer skill effect duration. So it's 40% more. And as you can see here in weapon swap setups, we are able to get to 12.68 seconds. And if I take this off, it's only 9 seconds. So this gem is very important in Time Freeze. And we have Siege Cascade, which is our main attacking skills. And I have Martial Tempo here. So Martial Tempo is actually very good. It gives us higher attack speed and faster reload time. So if we, for example, if we take this off, it will feel kind of clunky. You're still able to hit the 2 bolts into one frost wall, but it feels clunky. So if you put this in here, you reload faster, you also shoot faster, and later on we will be able to get 2 additional bolt and we'll be able to land all the shots. So martial tempo is very good. Magnifying effect because it's give us increased area of effect, so this overlapping explosions can overlap, and if I take this off, it's lowered the AoE by a little bit. So this is very important for single target damage, ironically, because it will overlap the explosion on the boss. Primo armament is also very good. It's a more damage multiplier, and if I take this off, you can see that's a lot of damage loss. And cold infusions is another damage multiplier per se, because it's like in a different bucket. It's gain as extra cold damage, and since we are not doing any fire or lightning damage, then Siege Cascade, we only do physical and cold pretty much. Ignore this flat lightning on here. Yeah, so this gem's another multiplier, which is very good. For Frost Wall, I'm using Glaciations for faster freeze build up, Spell Cascade, and Be Freeze. So this is because we are using, so we have Spell Cascade to increase the area of the Frost Wall. We also have Glaciations and Be Freeze, so that by the time that, so we freeze for 10 seconds, right? If you do weapon swap and you freeze. So in those 10 seconds, you probably can build up the freeze on the boss to be 100%. So the boss will be frozen right out of the temp freeze, which add more CC time to the boss. So yeah, Frost Wall is very good. Emergency reload is like empower attack cooldown. So it has premeditations and murderous intent. So for calling strikes and a more damage multiplier on here. So you just basically use the Frost Wall, drop the banners, use emergency reloads to buff up the next 2 Siege Cascade shot here. It labeled in yellow, and you shot it for much more damage. Green Feast, like I mentioned before, it's an amazing defensive tool for mapping. You can get up to 9k energy shields for me, and you can get much higher energy shields with better gears. Blasphemy support with Temporal Chain, I explained before, this is very good. Ritualistic Curse, because it has, normally it just has a really bad downside of 30% increased delay for the curse, but because we support it with Blasphemy, it negate the downside. So you just get the 50% increased area of effect, and with that we have Encumbrance to even increase the slow magnitude of our debuff, which is from Temporal Chain, which make the enemies move even slower. Then we have Heightened Curse to increase the effect of our curse. And then later on, we'll also can put some more quality on here. It's important to note that I do have quality on Blasphemy, which have the 10% reduced reservations to hit the breakpoint that allows me to basically have 200 spirits and can use all this support, because this one have a 140% cost multiplier on your Temporal Chains. Alright, so let's talk about Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder. So Herald of Ice, basically we want it to deal as much lightning damage as possible, and Herald of Thunder to deal as much cold damage as possible. And this is for our chain, as I explained before in the previous section. So if you want to take a look at that section first to understand the support gem here, I have Innervate here for more lightning damage, Coursing Current to spread the shock, Lightning Infusions to deal more lightning damage against a little bit unintuitive, but it's important in the explosion chain. Conductions for more chance to shock, so these shattering explosion will shock enemies and trigger Herald of Thunder, which will have Ice Bite to gain cold damage when you kill, when you freeze kill an enemies, right? So it will deal cold damage, build up the freeze, and then shatter the enemies, right? Shock Siphons to recover 4% of energy shields when we deal a killing blow to shock enemies, and since we have the Herald of Thunder just killing the frozen and shock enemies, this will recover our energy shields as another good layer of defense since we are CI. Calling Strike, again, to make sure that we are killing those shock enemy, right? So to recover energy shields. Biting Frost So this consume the freeze to deal more damage, and when we shattering, we kill enemies, this explosions, and a Herald Thunder attack, we can also build up freeze, and we end up freezing the enemies again. Like you can see here, we have a lot of ice wall. If we shoot here and all these ice will explode onto a pack of enemies, this would trigger on Herald Thunder. And lastly, we have wall banner. So wall banner is actually triggers from these ice wall, so it's actually very nice for us. So you see all these ice wall here, we hit kill, and it counts as stacks for the wall banner, right? Like this. Okay, so we have 50 stacks. We against a rare enemy, we just put down here, and we can build up stack very fast once this wall banner thing run out. And I have a setup for blink in our weapon swap setup. So if I'm using the shields, Herald Thunder, Herald Eyes, we cannot use, and we have enough spirits for the blink. And the way you set it up is just go in here, you kind of uncheck weapon set 1, and that's it. You will only use it on the weapon set swap. So if you are in the sticky situations, you use Temporal Rift, you can swap to your shields and you can blink out. Right, and yeah, so our character is very strong defensively. You should never really die mapping with these characters. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the skills. Now with that being said, let's quickly do a map showcase. Let me just pick a random map here. Hopefully I get one with good layout. I think Steppe is pretty good. So yeah, my characters right now is level 77, and all the gems, you know, level 17 is not highest level. It's not really have all the qualities. My gears are pretty basic. Just quickly hover them. And yeah, let's quickly show you how it feels when mapping with this character. And the idea here is that when you get into a map, you want to only shoot Siege Cascade at a pack of enemy, and you can see they are all very slow. So this is what I mean when I say we have a good defensive layer. And you just kind of move around the map, shooting artillery attack, they will all explode, and it's hard to miss, right? Because the enemy is so slow that, yeah, so again, like you want to shoot at the large pack of enemies, killing the small one to start the explosions, and so you have an easier time explode them, right? And you want to do all that good stuff, upgrade your weapons, upgrade your gems, and if you want into a pack of rare, quickly just swap to your shields, freeze everything, swap to the ice wall and shoot. So if you can't kill this one, have energy shield, so just quickly swap to ice wall, shoots. It's a bit clunky when you're fighting enemies that have a smaller hitbox, so there's that, but generally you should not run into any problem with the rare monster. And yeah, it's just this is a very good map to kind of showcase what it is. So see this big pack of monster and the rare just instantly destroy from one shot of Siege Cascade. And if I'm doing the combo correctly, I should at least shoot twice, yeah? So for example, just shoot twice. Anything you shoot twice to make it overlap, which is why load an additional bolt is such an important modifier on our weapons. So it's very satisfying mapping with this. Yeah, so this is one of the reason why I'm going to take this build much further into the endgame. And so AoE is good, single target damage is good, fixed with the frost pole, so we shouldn't have any problem. Monster are just very slow. We are CI, you can see energy chills is very strong. We have a good source of energy recovery with, okay, so that's another pack, another rare here. So we just quickly put down the banner, emergency reload, use the ice wall. Oops, I kind of messed up the combo there, but you get the idea, sorry. Rare should die in 1 or 2 shots of Siege Cascade without any problem. This is a very early game setup of this build. I will invest more money into this build to make it feel a lot better and do a lot more damage, so that we can run at least tier 15 or higher maps, right? And have some problem with the monster here, just yeah, so it's a bit clunky when you can't surround the monster with the ice wall, and which is why I think Glacial Bolt with Fortress should help a little bit. But other than that, I will play more of this in the upcoming days, and we'll try to find the best setup for this. Get another rare. I'm not even gonna do the weapon swap. I'm just gonna quickly cast some Ice Wall and then shoot twice. And rare's almost dead. Yeah, so try to finish the maps. Kinda like, this is a good layout, but it still take a long time because the rare monsters not show on the mini maps. Honestly, I feel like GG should do something about this. I like the system in Diablo 4, ironically, that when you almost kill everything, stuff just teleported to you, so you don't have to waste time looking for them. And there are 2 more monsters, right? So let's go look for them. For Straggler, you want to use Ice Wall and then just shoot on top of that, and you shouldn't run any problem. There's a rare monster here against this one have Proxima tangibility. We don't have any problem being in melee. We have good defense with all the slow from our curse and the ascendancy. So let's go fight the last 2 rare monster here, and okay, so put up a wall here. So you can see we do a lot of damage if there are a lot of monsters stacking on top of each other's, and this is going to do pretty well into endgame contents with high density like Reach and Rituals, like as you can briefly see in the beginnings. But that will be it for this video. If you are interested in the build, make sure that you are subscribed. Expect more updates to come with this one, and if you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.